Who's that? Commander Claw. Who's bad? Commander Claw. Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Brews. I'm your host, Commander Claw, and we are bringing you today. There's more than one of me. Anyway, I'm bringing you a commander today from Spider-Man Universes Beyond, coming out in the fall. If you're watching this video right now, it's probably you're a couple months away before the release, and this is one of the commanders that have been spoiled. Green Goblin was one of my favorite arch enemies in the entire Spider-Man universe. I think he's pretty cool. I'm actually really excited for this set just to see what characters and other commanders they put in it, but Green Goblin does not disappoint. So, on this next slide, I'll tell you and read his abilities and kind of give you an understanding what I would expect from him. Right up there on the left, actually above my screen, is a Rakdos commander. He has looting effects, or you will be doing looting effects or wheels, and he has discard payoffs. So, let's talk about Green Goblin Nemesis for 2 red and a black. That's Rakdos colored theme. On a 3/3 body, legendary creature, Goblin Human Villain. Look for that for tribal stuff right there. Okay. Goblin Human Villain. He's a 3/3 flyer. He says whenever you discard a non-land card, put a +1/+1 counter on target goblin you control. Whenever you discard a land card, create a tapped treasure token. So, Green Goblin Nemesis to me is a value payoff. Value payoff. Is that what I really want to say? He's not an engine because you need payoffs. He gives you all the payoffs for discarding. Whenever you loot, where you discard a card, draw a card, or whenever you wheel, which is where you discard your entire hand and draw a certain amount of cards, this guy will give you something for that. So this is good for a commander that sits on the battlefield and just creates value, either through a +1/+1 counter or creating a trapped treasure token. I also was thinking he could go tall, where you can drop a +1/+1 counter on himself, making him a giant flyer for your opponents to deal with. And also, players will be building him Goblin Tribal Krinko, I might say. So, without further ado, I got a burn theme to start off for you. So, any burn theme is most likely going to be dealing damage. Not most likely, it will be doing damage, whether it's 1 damage, 2 damage, 3 damage, or plus. That's what's going to happen with burn, and it's mostly in red. So, on the left hand side, we're going to start with Mackin Artillerist for 2 in a red, 1/4 body from the Aether Drift set. Elemental Pirate. You probably know him because he's all over the place for Captain Howler Sea Scourge. Anyway, he says, whenever you discard 1 or more cards, this creature deals that much damage to each opponent. Awesome. You discard 1 card, everybody takes 1 damage, or all your opponents. He also has cycling, where you pay 1 in a red, discard this card, then draw a card. That is looting. And you can do this at any time, on another player's turn or your turn. It says, when you cycle this card, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Now, he's good to keep in your hand for 2 reasons. Maybe you have an opponent at 1 life total. Maybe you have a damage tripler or doubler so that 1 damage becomes 2 or 3. And also, you're able to draw cards at instant speed. And even when you draw cards at instant speed, you're discarding this card, which may trigger an effect. And you're putting this card in your graveyard to load up your graveyard matters effects, where, a card says, oh, you have so many cards in your graveyard, blah, 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 blah. You get something. Next up, we got Seismic Assault for 3 red straight up. This is a way to finish games. It's an enchantment. Discard a land card. Seismic Assault deals 2 damage to any target. This is an enchantment that just sits on the battlefield. All you have to do, discard a land card that's in your hand, and you can deal 2 damage to any opponent or any target. That includes planeswalkers. That includes battles. That includes creatures. That includes artifacts. That includes artifact vehicles. That includes your opponents. Great card to add, especially after you draw a bunch of cards, maybe late in the game, and you just need to get rid of an opponent or something. Moving on to discard payoffs. Now, as we get deeper in this video, don't forget Green Goblin says whenever you discard a non-land card, put a +1/+1 counter on target goblin creature. That's everything except the land. Sagas, enchantments, creatures, artifacts. If you discard that, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on Green Goblin or a Goblin. Otherwise, when you discard a land card, create a tap treasure token, which helps you ramp. So Monument to Endurance over here on the left-hand side for 3 mana. It's an artifact. It says whenever you discard a card, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Draw a card. Create a treasure token. Each opponent loses 3 life. This card is a beast. You're just able to have, you got options. On one turn, you have option. And when you go to the next turn and you start discarding, you could have an opponent lose, you know, another 3 life, each opponent. So as you go around, if you have 4 cards, you can just trash or put in the discard graveyard. You're able to do all these abilities each time on each turn. So, without further ado, moving on the right hand side, we got Crypt Color Chariot for 3 and a black, 5/5 artifact vehicle. It has Menace. Whenever you discard one or more cards, create that many tap 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Crew 2. Cool. What's good about this card? It is a token generator. You're going to be discarding cards in this Green Goblin Nemesis deck. It's going to be a wheel deck. It's going to be a loot deck. Um, Also, now that I'm thinking about it, he might go well with other commanders. Yeah, I gotta figure out which commander he's gonna go well as a 99. Yeah, just to think about it. Yeah, he's actually probably just good in the 99 in general for Rakdos. I think it's the Madness Commander and something Blood Token, something like that. In the comments below, write who she is. I know you know who I'm talking about. Ange, and she has the Madness ability. Anyway, Crypt Caller Chariot is from Aether Drifter set. This card is just another value engine. Also, remember when you have artifact vehicles, if it is not crewed, it's just an artifact and it can't be targeted. If a targeted removal says target creature in no destroy target creature. So just remember that. That's why I really like this card. Moving on to draw X cards. So, what's really important whenever you play a wheel deck or a loot deck is to be able to draw cards. And in Rakdos, you're going to be drawing cards either by sacrificing life or sacrificing creature, excuse me, by paying life or sacrificing creatures. You got options, and they're just explosive card draws that you have to have because if you're not able to draw cards, how can you wheel or loot? You can't loot with one card. You're just stuck with the next card up. And that's not advantageous. So, anyways, if you got Green Goblin Nemesis and you plan on going Goblin Tribal, I'm pretty sure you're going to be adding Crinkle Mob Boss to your deck over here on the left. If you know what he does, he makes red Goblin tokens quickly, fast, aggro. He is overwhelming, and he needs to be answered immediately if you never played him. Trust me. But anyways, while you have a wide board state of goblins, why not add Plum the Forbidden to the deck? For 1 and a black, it's an instant. It says, as an additional cost to cast a spell, you may sacrifice 1 or more creatures. When you do, copy the spell for each creature sacrificed this way. You're going to be sacrificing goblins. Then draw a card and you lose 1 life. You sacrifice 10 goblins, you draw 10 cards and lose 10 life. Yes, this is at instant speed. So plan this accordingly. It's always perfect when a player plays a board wipe or right before your turn starts on another player's turn. Just take advantage of it. Instant speed. And I have another really good instant speed spell that is going to just, all you old heads that remember this card, go ahead and write in the comments below and like this. I actually found this in my bulk box the other day. I was just like, dang, I got to add this card. And here's the commander. Skeletal Scrying. X and a black. Instant speed. I repeat, instant speed. As an additional cost to cast Skeletal Scrying, exile X cards from your graveyard. You draw X cards and you lose X life. There's nothing more powerful than instant speed draw spells. And you should watch your opponent's face when you say, oh, I'm going to draw X cards. What? Do that on another player's turn. They're shocked. They don't like that. So Skeletal Scrying, you do have to sacrifice exile X cards equal to how much mana you pay. So if X is 4 mana and 4 exile cards and an additional black. Yes, that's how it goes. But do not underestimate this card. This card is going to be great late game, mid game, just to get you over the hump and probably draw into your win condition for Green Goblin Nemesis. On to my favorite card. Neheb, Dreadhorde champion for 2 and 2 red, 5/4 body, zombie minotaur warrior. He has trample. Okay, first of all, if you never played this commander, he has an infinite combo. Once he hits a combat player, the game can be over because he produced enough red mana for how many cards in your hand, and a player just drops in Relentless Assault and has infinite combat damages. That's why this guy is nasty. So, let me read his ability. Whenever Neheb Dreadhorde champion deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, you may discard any number of cards. We want to do that with Green Goblin. If you do, draw that many cards and add that much red mana until end of turn. You don't lose this mana as steps and phases in. So, with the infinite combo that I just mentioned, if you do have him with Green Goblin Nemesis, you kind of have a win condition built already in the deck. And what's good is, since you're playing Rakdos, you can have black spells to draw into your win condition faster versus a mono red deck, and where you're relying on drawing these 2 or 3 infinite cards. I mean, infinite combo cards. That's why Green Goblin Nemesis and the Heb kind of work together. Actually, a lot, because whenever you discard cards, you do one of the following, or one of the following with Green Goblin, where you're either creating a trap treasure token or putting a +1/+1 counter on Green Goblin. Yeah, yeah. Then don't forget, you get to draw that many cards too and add red mana. Ultimately, setting you up for your second main phase to play a Sanguinate, a Torment of Hellfire, something else. Something else. So I think Neheb is auto include in any of these Green Goblin Nemesis decks. So, cards you may have missed. You got to take advantage of discarding cards. On the left hand side, we got Troll of Khazad-dûm for 5 and a black, 6/5 troll. To be honest with you, I'm not even going to read this ability. What it's good for is swamp cycling. You tap 1 mana, you discard this card, search your library for a swamp card, put it into your hand. This is a discard effect. So whenever you swamp cycle, you go fetch a land, and if you have him paired with Green Goblin Nemesis, you get to create a treasure token. That is a 2 for 1. In the middle here, we have Unpredictable Cyclone. It is a cycling staple, actually. Let me read it, actually. For 3 and 2 red, it's an enchantment. If a cycling ability of another non-land card will cause you to draw a card, which it will, instead exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a card that shares their card type with the cycling card. You may cast a card without paying its mana cost. Then put the exile cards that weren't cast this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. Cycling 2. So yeah, when it's on the battlefield, cycle any card, and you are literally, if you set your deck up appropriately, you could dig through your deck and find the same card type that you're looking for in order to win the game. I actually kind of need to dig more into that for this Rakdos commander if I did a deck type. Ooh, this card could be nasty. Yeah, because Aether Drift just came out with a bunch of cards that cycle, just like the Magamiskin Artillerist. It has cycling, so you can literally start cycling these creatures and find another creature that's in your deck if Unpredictable Cyclone is on the battlefield. Woo. Okay, next up on the right hand side, we got Feast of Sanity. For 3 and a black, it's an enchantment. Whenever you discard a card, Feast of Sanity deals 1 damage to any target and you gain 1 life. Easy as that. This is a way to ping down opponents and ultimately win the game. Moving on to the summary. Thank you for watching another episode of Breaking Brews. I'm your host, Commander Claw, and Green Goblin Nemesis. I think it's a pretty cool commander that's coming up in the Spider-Man universe. Don't underestimate him. I think a lot of players are going to come up with creative builds for this guy. And there's going to be a card that breaks him, because I don't think there's been a commander with this type of payoff yet. So, with that being said, make sure to hit the like button. And if you enjoyed any of this content, the easiest way to support the channel is by subscribing. Peace.